Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher. We are on to the second T20I. The first one, India won by a massive margin of 101 runs. But today's a new day. We're going to New Chandigarh. And things in our studio are a little new besides my straight hair. We just have Polly with us in the studio. And Joyda has joined us from a secret undisclosed location, somewhere in the middle of a lot of books. Joyda, Polly, welcome to the show. Are you feeling all alone there on that side?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I've written off the last game. And I'm just focused on this one. And Joy is going to, obviously, with all those books around, he's going to be full of wisdom for us today.
He's always full of wisdom, but he's also in his blue colours today. So
yeah, he's supporting India today. So if it's anything to go by, the South African green and gold didn't work. So we'll have to see if the blue works.
Joyda, the books behind you, I can see a book which says Indian Cricket. Are these all the books where you get all your joy factors from? We'll have our audience look very closely at those books and know what to read to get these answers.
I just gave away 23 packets of books, about 3,000 books. So these are the ones that are left over right now. So a lot of the questions would have gone from there. But I think more than anything else, I just want to tell you that, when we were speaking before the show, Polly was saying that this blue, since last time I wore green and gold and South Africa lost, this could be unlucky for India. But Polly, remember, I'm sitting at home. I'm exactly a minute away from my wardrobe. So like Sridevi in all these good Hindi films, I can keep changing costumes if India is doing badly.
Okay, well, we look forward to your different looks to the show.
We look forward to Joyda in a nice sari which Sridevi is worn in one of her films as well. Joyda, if you could bring that surprise on for us. But coming back to what's happening today, India take on South Africa in the second T20I at New Chandigarh. We've seen visuals of Yuvraj Singh there welcoming the team, chatting with the boys. But Polly, getting straight to it, India had a big, massive win. We did speak about it a little bit in our post-match, the concern of Suryakumar Yadav and his form. Joyda, Polly, we know what he brings to the game. We know he's that 360 player. We know that he needs those wrists ensured because he plays those shots all around the ground. We know how devastating he can be. He's had a great IPL. He had a good Mushtaq Ali. But it's just not converting when he comes and plays those T20Is for India, especially this year. So do you think it is something probably to do with the pressure of captaincy, just the pressure of all that's going around in the Indian side? Because 2025, 16 innings, just 196 runs.
Yeah, I mean, it is concerning. When you look at those numbers, you can see he's on a downward spiral, if you wanted to put it that way. But I wouldn't be overly concerned. Maybe just the fact that he's playing one format, maybe that affects him just a little bit. Some guys like to have time in the middle, play 4-day cricket, play 1-day cricket, and then move on to the short form. So that could be contributing to it a little bit. But he's one of those class players. I wouldn't be overly concerned. Particularly if the team's not winning and the captain's not performing, it becomes a big issue. But I think with him having the team doing so well and him making little contributions, I mean, he kind of makes a quick 15 or quick 20, whatever it means. But personally, I know he's a proud of performance individual and he'll be wanting to do a lot better than that. So I'm sure he'll kick into gear. Still 4 games to go. One thing to mention, though, Joy, is that South Africa are unbeaten on this ground. You know that.
How many matches have they played here?
Don't worry, we're unbeaten, Joy. We are unbeaten on this ground.
I think you need to be a statsman or a political commentator because this is the kind of spins that we can put on our just change the numbers and everything can look very different. But coming to Surya, I was just looking at it and I realized that his last 50 is over a year ago. It's in October against Bangladesh and Hyderabad. So that's a long time back. And his last really substantial innings is 47 against Pakistan during the Asia Cup. But remember that 47 against Pakistan that he scores it when Pakistan has just scored 127 runs and Abhishek has got India off to a terrific start. So there's no pressure in him whatsoever. And I think that's the one thing that there isn't, because India is doing well, there isn't pressure on him. You can't say that he's looked out of form because he's looked in form. He's got runs domestically. I think it's just that one adjustment he has to do, saying that, okay, look, maybe my strike rate may not be the 160, 170 that it was when in my form. Let me start getting to 2025 before I start opening up and taking those risky shots. So I think it's just some sort of adjustment in his head he's got to do because he's too good a player and he does not look out of touch. But Paul's also made a fair point about the fact that He doesn't play much other cricket. Now, the truth is, he used to for Bombay. He was the under-23 captain for India. He's played a lot of under-23 test matches. Uh, he came out as an all-format player, but I think just the way the Indian domestic scene has panned out, he's become much more just a T20 player. And it'll be very interesting that if the selectors take it to heart, that perhaps they should look at him playing a bit more four-day matches as well. It'll be interesting. He does, but perhaps they should say that, play a little bit more. It might help your game a bit.
Well, I'll just come back to a little more on Surya, but the good news for him is he's got off to a winning start. India have won the toss and they have decided to bowl first. So that is going to make any captain feel happy. India has not been great with the tosses, so Surya is going to be happy he won the toss. But Polly, just to understand, Surya is, I think, 33 years old now, and the kind of cricket he plays, he's extremely innovative. We know he plays shots all around the park. We know his hand-eye coordination is fantastic. After a certain age, I've been told by batters that your hand-eye coordination gets a little slower, just that tad bit slower, which makes things different. Do you maybe think technically there is something that Surya needs to look into, or we're just looking into too much and talking too much about it?
Yeah, we're probably looking into it too much. I mean, it would be interesting to actually just get some old footage. Whenever you're in form or not in form, you go back to when you were playing at your best and just check your little, how you were taking your bat back, what sort of angle, how far the hands were going. So he might be doing something like that. But I just think he's an awkward areas kind of cricketer. And when the awkward areas cricketers kind of go wrong, they kind of get themselves into a little bit more trouble because he's not stock standard. He doesn't kind of play it down the ground. But he's one of those guys who the teams fear because they know what he's capable of. And he's a difficult customer to bowl to. Chris Gale was so destructive in his time, but you would still think to yourself, okay, if I make him score in a particular area, I can maybe tie him down a touch and be effective against him. Surya is one of those guys you kind of think, what should I do? Should I set a straight field and bowl full? Should I set a square leg back and fine leg back and try and bowl short? It's a difficult one to work out, and you don't often, get to cramp his style. So I don't think it's a big thing. I think he'll bounce back. And if it's, the moral of the story, at 33, he's secure. He's playing until the World Cup's finished. He's going to captain, and he'll have the RPL. If things don't go well in that period, then people might start to look at and see what the plan going forward is. But for now, I don't think there's any issue with him.
Joyda, just like Polly's saying, he's a very secure player. You've known Surya as well. We know that the World Cup's a very big deal, and especially amongst Indian fans going into the World Cup, we're 9 games away. Suryakumar Yadav, the captain, everything's going right for him. But the batter, do you think the pressure is mounting on? And he probably doesn't show it. He seems like a very confident person. But do you think that pressure is mounting on him?
I think Polly said a very, very important thing, that given how close we are to the World Cup, India is not going to change courses. So he knows he's there. Therefore, he has literally 18 matches, hopefully 18 matches to prove himself till the end of the World Cup. If you look at it that way. So he's got a run. He knows he's got a run. So it's not that if I don't score in the next 2 matches, my place is under pressure. That's not that. He's got that security blanket right now. And I think it's all about how smartly he uses that security blanket, because having a security blanket is both good and bad. It means that you know that your place is secure, but it also means that sometimes it's more difficult to sort of decide to change and do what you need to do to sort of adapt to the game. I think he's got everything. He just needs to give himself a little bit more time. And I think it might just happen in a game where India is chasing, because what happens when you're chasing is when you put a certain amount of runs on the ball, when you face a certain amount of runs, like what happened when he got his last innings of 47. When they're not runs on the board, the opposition hasn't scored runs, you may have a chance to bat a little bit more safer than you do. Because when you're setting targets, you'll always have to keep going. And Surya is a kind of player who will. So perhaps today is the day.
Well, Joyda said it. Today could be the day. We'll have a look at India's playing 11, see if they have any changes for today's game. A dominating win in that last game. So India have gone unchanged. They've decided to go ahead with the same team. So there is no Nitish Reddy. There are no changes. We have Bumrah, Ashdeep, Shivam, all of the players from the last game. Joyda, happy that there is no experimentation, no changes, because we are so used to seeing India make so many changes constantly. But also, the team just seems like a very rounded team, right? Like there's a whole number of batters. There are all the bowlers. We have the Bumrah, Ashdeeps. And then those all-rounders in the middle who have made the change, be it Hardik, be it Shivam, be it Axar. So it just feels like a very well-rounded team, you feel?
Absolutely. I think India's template is now clear. They'll play Jitesh as a wicket keeper, as your finisher, three all-rounders, and they will have either two or three bowlers. So the only toss-up that India will have from now on is it going to be Arshdeep who's going to play, or is it going to be Kuldeep Yadav who's going to play? Depending on the situation, it's going to be one or the other. These are the two guys, and they're just going to focus on that. They're going to decide which of these two, depending on the conditions. I think the rest of the Indian side right now, the way they're playing, the way they've positioned themselves, looks very set.
I think for me, I think it's a good decision to bowl first. South Africa didn't go well. I mean, they didn't even get to 100 runs. So put the pressure straight back on them and say, okay, let's see what you can do. I think conditions-wise, we saw a lot of jumpers and jerseys and everything on, so it might get colder. There may be a bit of a dew factor. And if I look at the strength of India, I mean, the depth that they've got in the batting department, if opposition come hard at their spinners, that's where they'll make mistakes. Mm-hmm. If you're batting second against India and you know you're chasing a particular score, you can structure your chase. But I think when you're setting something and you look at the depth of India, you always want to go harder. You always think maybe I've got to get more runs on the board. So I like the call. I think tactically, I'm not too sure what the surface is going to do. We'll maybe see that in the first few overs. But I like the decision to win the toss and put South Africa under that pressure straight away.
You know, Polly, the other day we saw with India, the top three batters didn't really get the runs. Abhishek got out in the seventh over. And then we had that middle order come in. We saw Hardik come in and get those big runs. Even with the bowling, Surya always has options. He can throw the ball around to people. He has those options around. The fulcrum has been those all-rounders which have made a difference. Do you think that's something that South Africa is missing?
Yeah, I think it was the depth. I remember looking in the last game, Jitesh came in, what does he come in, 8 or something along those lines. And I thought, oh, we might have them in trouble, and you realize that he's still coming. So I think the depth is what India had. And South Africa, if they get either Bosch or Linda back in, then all of a sudden the batting's extended. And after the way they batted, I'm sure that they might consider that. But let's have a look. I know you've got it for us.
Yes, we'll have a look, and they have got that one all-rounder in all three changes for South Africa. Reza Hendricks comes in up top as the opener. We'll see if he does come and open. There's George Linde who comes in. There is no Keshav Maharaj, and Bartman comes in. So are you happy with these changes in the side?
Yeah, I think George Linde, as I say, I'm very keen to see how he gets on. He's a very tall individual, bowls it nice and flat and gets some bounce. So I think he'll be a handful, left-handed option as well. Neil Bartman, he's one of those guys who's very consistent. We saw him in the one days, and I think he'll relish his opportunity. I think because Kher hasn't played much cricket and they're a little bit concerned about it, he might be one game on, one game off, one game on, one game off, just to make sure that his back doesn't cause him any hassles. I'm trying to think who we're missing at the top of the order, because Makaram was opening. Just trying to think.
Is it Rickelton?
Yeah,
there is no Stubbs playing today. We just have a look at the playing 11 again and show you who is missing.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a surprise for me. I thought they might have just kept it the same, Aiden Markram at the top and Stubbs at 3.
So Markram comes in at 3, or do you think?
Yeah, I think Reza Hendricks will go at the top. I mean, he's kind of always been his position that when he plays. I mean, he had a period where he was unbelievable. I think he got something like 7 50s and 11 knocks at one stage, I think before the last T20 World Cup, and I know he's been playing domestically, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But I'm like India have done. I would think for the first 3 games, particularly the batters-wise, give them a run of 3 games. Don't change anything, because T20 cricket, if you're kind of looking over your shoulder and worried about your place, it's difficult to be aggressive and be positive, because you're trying to just knock it around and get a score so you stay in the side. So it's a bit of a blow. Maybe Stubbs is injured. Maybe there's something we don't know, and that's why he's not playing. But a little bit surprised they changed that, but not surprised George Linde. I think it gives them more depth, and I'm very interested to see how he gets on.
Joyda, we should see Markram at 3. Although Paul is saying he should open, and you'd ideally not.
I think he'll come 3, yeah.
Not see that move around. But Makaram, the captain, he's been captain since the last T20 World Cup. We know he seems like a very calm, composed captain who's almost like, I trust you all, and he backs his players. He seems like one of those captains. What have you made of his captaincy, Joyda, especially moving into the big World Cup coming ahead?
Look, I'm actually a huge fan of Makaram. I've been following him since 2014. Remember, he got the first ICC World Cup title for South Africa, though it was an under-19 title. Scored a couple of 50s, scored a 60 in the final. World Test Championship this time, man of the match. big occasion player, really, really big occasion player, and somebody who thinks a lot about his game. So I have a huge amount of time for Makaram. And here's my point. My point is that if Makaram is such an important player to me, I don't change his position to try and Lisa Hendricks, who's whether he plays better or worse at three doesn't matter so much as moving a batter who's already established from the position that he is in. So I would keep Markram. I don't think they will. But I think that's the one thing that, Polly said, which is very important. Give your top three. I mean, after that, everyone else can fit in depending on circumstances, left, right, combinations, spinner on, everything else can move. But if you're not giving 1, 2, and 3 an extended run, I think you're doing a disservice to your team. It's very difficult for your team to get a set combination and win if you don't give 1, 2, or 3 an extended run at the game.
Well, that's what happened in the ODIs as well. After that 100, they moved him around, which was a little surprising. But Paulie, as captain, Makaram is 29. He's still a very young captain. But there are a lot of youngsters in that South African side. Do you think it just makes communication easier when you have a young captain and a young team?
Yeah, I think he identifies with all the individuals. He had a lot of experience captaining in India as well. I mean, he captained the Sunrisers, I think it was for a period. So I think in the one-day arena and the test arena, he's been a bit in out. Temba kind of misses and then Aiden takes over for a game or two. So he hasn't been the permanent captain, but this T20 side is his team.
Yes.
And I think that's what he feels. And in going into this T20 World Cup, it's so important that he understands his personnel. He knows how people are going to fit into different roles. And keeps him nice and settled. But he's a very calm individual. He gets cross with himself when he gets out. He'll when he came 1-2, he punched the wall, I think, and broke his fingers when he got out in the test match. So he does get very cross with himself when he gets out, but he very rarely takes out any bad vibes against his players when they're on the field. He's very calm, and I think the guys respect him and try and play for him.
He might get cross with himself, but technically he's someone who doesn't have too many cross-bat shots. He plays very straight. He's technically very sound, very elegant looking, very conventional looking, if I can say. But Polly, against India, he hasn't really had the best run, because the numbers here again, 11 innings, an average of 21. So clearly, like Joyda said, he is a big match player. But against India, do you think this is probably his toughest competition?
Yeah, it probably is. I think Ashdeep, might have had his number a few times with that left arm shape coming into him and tucking him up. And he hasn't gone as well. And he'll be disappointed at that, because I think most players around the world these days, with the RPL so prevalent, they all think, come on, let me perform well against India, because that's where, my contract going forward will lie. And I think Quinton de Kock's one of those guys who goes really well. So it's sometimes just the personality you come against. I think Bumrah is also a fantastic bowler who puts him under pressure initially. So he'll be wanting to put that right. He's got the 150. His strike rate's still decent, but it's the amount of numbers that he'll be wanting. And he wants to get the team started off with a good start. So he's got 4 opportunities. He'll play all 4 of these games. He's got 4 opportunities to try and get that record straight.
Well, Joyda, there's someone who got the better of Makaram in the last game. It was Axar Patel. Bapu likes playing against South Africa, like you had said, and he had a good game. That last game, he got 2 wickets in his 2 overs, gave away just 7 runs. There's just something about him in the last year and a half, 2 years. You're seeing a really confident Axar Patel, be it with the bat, be it with the ball. He's floating around as a batter and he's doing well wherever he goes. What do you think has changed with Axar the player? Is it the IPL confidence? Is it just management backing him? What do you think has changed?
I think definitely management backing him. I think they've handled him very well. They've batted him for India. He has won games batting at 4 and 5 for India, because he's now your left-hand floater who is really devastating against spin himself, plays fast bowling also well, but is devastating against spin. And he's your go-to bowler, because, see, the way Axar bowls, Axar doesn't have really bad days. He has days in which he won't get wickets, days in which he's not as efficient, but his normal level of efficiency is so high. And I think you're absolutely right. Captaincy of the Delhi Capitals, his own team, his understanding that his place is now there. You see, at one time, this place was in doubt because the way the Indian team was structured, Jadeja might have had a chance. They might be playing Kuldeep and maybe playing one more spinner. Now this Indian team has said, this is our lineup. These are our 3 all-rounders we're going to play in the middle. There's Axar, that's Shivam Dube, then there's Hardik Pandya. And so now that he knows that this is his place and his position and he'll float up and down, That's done wonders to his confidence. I don't think he's a fringe member of the Indian team now. I think he, like Hardik Pandya, is one of the most vital reasons for India's amazing run in the last, in the last 36 matches, we are 32-4 or something like that. I mean, that's a ridiculously good record in international cricket and in T20 cricket, which is the most fickle of all formats.
Yes.
If you look at T20 cricket, it's the most fickle format. It's a game of runs and momentums. To have that kind of a record there tells you how dominant India has been.
Polly, like Joyda is saying, T20 cricket is probably the most fickle format. It's also the margin of error is so little. With someone like Axar Patel, we saw the other day, he was darting them in. He was bowling just stump to stump, and he's consistently manages to constantly bowl that kind of a length, doesn't give anything to the batters at all. What about his bowling has impressed you?
Yeah, I think that is exactly it. It's that top of the stumps that they're able to hit at will. All these spinners these days, there's very few of them who kind of throw it up in the T20 format. They like to be flat as possible, and they've become so accurate. Kher is very similar. I think when you see them go to test arena, then they're kind of, oops, we're not that confident giving it that much air anymore, but we know how to dart it in because of the amount of T20 and one-day cricket that they play. And I think that's where he's become consistent. I mean, when Makaram got out, I must admit, thinking to myself, in the test matches, what you would have said to yourself is don't cut him because he's not turning the ball. He's always looking to slide it back. So I was a bit surprised that he got done by that. Particularly, I mean, he cleaned up his leg stump. It didn't just clean up his off stump. But it's the length that they hold, the length and the right pace to be able to tuck batters up. And as soon as they give air these days, batters just whack them straight down the ground. So I think he's really got that art going really well now with regards to the control.
Also, he bowls pretty much in every phase of the game. And how supportive is that to a captain? Because we see these numbers here, be it in the power play, be it in the middle overs or the death, the numbers don't really change too much.
Yeah, it's flexibility, and as a captain, that's wonderful because invariably there is games where your fast bowlers will go the distance and you have to turn to your spin in the maybe fifth or sixth over, or even sometimes in the first over. And then his normal spell, the normal spinner's spell, would be from 7 overs until probably 15. But then again, sometimes you have to save them and bring them back at the death. So the fact that he can do all of it, his economy rate's good, his effectiveness is really good, that makes him a wonderful person to have.
Joyda, another wonderful person to have in the team is Jitesh Sharma, who said wonderful things about Sanju Samson, which is just so heartening to see because everyone in the outside world speaks so much, but Jitesh speaks about that healthy competition. This is what he had to say. Sanju Bhai is out and I am in playing. He's a great player. If I have to compete with him and play shoulder to shoulder, I have to bring my A game. I'm very grateful that he's in the team and I'm under him. He's like an elder brother to me. We spoke about Sanju Samson, Joyda, the other day and how him missing out probably is giving him a raw deal because it's been a little unlucky for him with Gill coming up top. There's been no place for him. Jitesh comes in. Clearly, India is fielding him as that finisher role for India. But just so wonderful to see this kind of a healthy competition in the team.
Yeah, I love it. And I especially love it because, it's very interesting. He says that he's like an elder brother to me. And Jitesh is actually 1 year older. But the fact of it is that when you're in international cricket, it's really the kind of, it's the reputation you have, how early you entered international cricket that matters more. And I think it's fantastic that Jitesh acknowledges the fact that Sanju was ahead of him in the race. And now Jitesh has got his opportunity. And once again, I say it's so unfair on Sanju. Because, you're an opening batter, you do so well, you've scored 3 centuries, you have a fantastic strike rate, but India's plans have now moved differently. They want a finisher as a keeper, and you're out of the plan. So it must be really difficult for him to control himself. I like the way Jitesh has spoken. And on the matter of, elder brothers and younger brothers, it reminds me of a great story because there's something that, of course, especially for you there, Saiyami, today is the day that Sachin Tendulkar made his Ranji Trophy debut.
Yes.
At the age of 37 years ago, he made his debut. And there was already such a reputation about him, a buzz around him, that all the top senior Ranji players, likes of Sunil Gavaskar, legends of India, went out to watch him play. But that's the thing. When Rahul Dravid comes into the Indian cricket team, Rahul Dravid is older than Sachin. Saurav is older than Sachin. But they make their debuts in 96 and he's in 89. So in the Indian team, Sachin was like an elder brother to them. Though age-wise, it's different. And I think that's one of the great things about cricket. Cricket is completely, or most great sport is merit-based. It doesn't matter whether you're older or younger. But if you're that special player, the other guy will look up to you. And I think that's one of the most heartening parts of cricket as we know it.
Joy, were you telling us that story because this is going to have something to do with your joy factor question?
Oh, no. This was just to
No,
make me feel
Oh,
happy
okay,
and
just
make
check
me
it.
smile.
Okay, just yes.
The
this is
joy
a
factor
Siamese
can't be
special.
this
This is a
simple.
Siamese special.
Because he's in the middle of all those books
Books.
right now, so it can't be that simple at all. But Polly, talking about Jitesh, the finisher, like India's going ahead with him, probably even in the World Cup, they want that finisher keeper. Is it the toughest job in world cricket, in T20 cricket, to play that finisher role? Because the opportunities that come your way are little, but when they come, you need to make the team win or get those big runs.
Well, you have to be adaptable. That's the one thing. And you always have to deal with the pressure because when things are going according to plan, you don't bat. But when they're not going according to plan, then, hey, you go to the crease and win the game for us. Come on, be that one. And then also at the back end of the first innings, if you're batting first, you have to find a way to be able to carve out boundaries and rotate strike. And sometimes your role can change. So sometimes you've got to go in and whack it. Sometimes you've got to go in there and just be a partner to maybe give Hardik the strike. So it does, your role changes massively. And the more experience you've got at doing it, the more understanding you've got about what's required. So it can prove particularly difficult. As I say, the pressure that's involved, if you're the finisher and you're trying to chase down a score, can be immense.
Joyda, but how much does the IPL help? Because we've seen Jitesh and we've seen him do that in the IPL. Just that confidence that carries forward in the Indian team as well, because he's done this, been there, done that for franchise cricket.
No, absolutely. And what, Shaun has said is it's such an important thing because openings 1, 2, and 3 are what we call, they act. Batters 5, 6, 7 react to a situation. And sometimes the situation is, your team is 200 for 2 and there's 3 overs left and you go and whack it from the first ball. Or your team could be 18 for 4 and you've now got to bat out 15 overs and start putting the run rate up later. So it's like you've got to be a chameleon. You've got to adjust to every situation that's thrown at you. It's clearly much, much, much more difficult because if you go in the market and you search for, and I remember being a part of an IPL franchise, to go and search for opening batters or batters who can bat at 1, 2, or 3, you have far more options. Great finishers, there are very, very few great finishers in world cricket. And so Jitesh takes on a particular responsibility. Of course, the great thing is he's got Hardik with him. And if you remember the Mumbai Indians, when they were a fantastic team, what did they have? They had Pollock, Kunal Pandya, and Hardik Pandya finishing there. And if Jitesh and Hardik Pandya can give that same power to India in that last few overs and maybe a bit of Shivam Dube, then I think that's what will make India, of course, India is already a really powerful side. I think that's the kind of power that India is looking to make there at the end.
Joyda, you spoke about Hardik giving him that support as a finisher as well. Hardik says he likes that role. He said that he feels like a rock star when he's there. He likes that audience watching him for that little 15-20 minutes of a cameo, and he really enjoys it. That's what eggs him on, and we love watching him play like a rock star because that's what he did in that last game. Just a reminder on the toss, India won the toss. They have decided to bowl first. We'll quickly have a look at the playing 11s. India have gone unchanged for today's game. Well, they didn't want to change anything around after a 101-run win in that last game. With South Africa, they have 3 changes. Reza Hendricks is in, there's George Linde who's in, and there's Bartman who's in. So those 3 changes in for South Africa. Polly, hopefully that also changes their luck around, but we will hopefully change our luck around answering the joy factor.
Yeah.
Joyda, I know you're in the middle of those books, so the question today is going to be pretty tough. So I think we'll try having a look at what the joy factor question of the day is.
Okay, this is straight. This is out of your newspaper, not out of your books, because the last one is pretty recent. What connects Dimuth Karunaratne at Leeds in 2019, Ollie Pope at the Oval in 2021, and Deval Brevis in Cuttack in 2025? Cuttack 2025 is just a few days back. Think about it. It's not that difficult, but it isn't that easy either.
Brevis is your boy. You've spent a lot of time with him, Polly.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think, what did he do that would be done by other people that would have been recognized? Joy, really? You're away from home here and you're making it even more difficult. I haven't got a clue. I'll have to think about this one.
He says it's easy, so we'll think about this one. But for South Africa,
Joy's easy and my easy is completely contrast.
I know what that feels like, Polly, because I don't ever have an answer to his easy ones either. But will South Africa have an answer to the difficult questions that India is going to pose with Arshdeep and Bumrah coming up?
Yeah, you were saying I hope their luck change. I hope their skills change. Never mind that. Their skills were the ones who were lack of performance in the last one. They're going to get 192 today.
All right,
batting
then.
first. 192. On this ground that they're undefeated at, Joy. You know this ground.
I love the way you put it. India, I'm going to go this. I'm going to go 177.
Huh.
The blue color is speaking there.
You know what 177, eh?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
your
we had
number.
to. No, that's what I know. But that's my number. But that's what we had to chase in the World Cup.
Ooh.
Ah.
Look at that smile,
Exactly.
Joyda knew
He's trying
that.
He's trying to be cheeky.
177, 192 is what you've said. I'm going to go with. I wanted to be close to Joyda, but he's taken the number, so I'll go with 181.
I'll see what happens. You guys bat first, you go 200 and 200. South Africa bats first, you go 170 and 180. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
Well, Bumrah and Arshdeep are out there. So we, as Indian fans, think, I mean, I hope it's 160 and not even 180, but we've gone with 180.
Okay, we'll see what's happening at the com box.
All right, Polly said it. We'll see what happens at the end of the com box. Joyda, thank you so much for joining us in between all those books. We will miss you for dinner tonight, but please have a lovely meal wherever you are. Polly, we'll go have a lovely meal where we are, and we will join you all at the 10th over point at the Cricbuzz com box. Don't forget to join us there. Thank you so much for watching Cricbuzz Live.